Welcome to Men Going Home. I'm Chris Wolfe, and we've got a great show for you today because today's guest spent 27 consecutive years in prison after being convicted of numerous armed robberies in North Florida in 1979 and 1980. However, before we introduce today's guest, please welcome my good friend and co-host of this show, Andy Korge. Andy, welcome.
Well, thanks, Chris. Thanks for having me. I'm real excited about this new show, Men Going Home. I know you're Grover here from the Correction Transition Program from Everglades Correctional Facility, is where you met Grover initially. And we've talked to a lot of those former inmates from that facility that have been through your program on my radio show. And it's always an interesting tale. It's always just some fascinating content. And I'm excited to be a part of this show with you and today and moving forward.
That's great. We've got a great show with Grover. So let's introduce Grover Cleveland Alexander III. Grover was 33 years old when he was sentenced to life plus another 250 years for numerous armed robberies in North Florida during the late 70s and early 80s. Now, Grover actually served 27 years in prison because at that time, a life sentence meant 25 years mandatory incarceration, followed by the possibility of parole. After 27 years, Grover Cleveland Alexander was freed on parole, and today he is a wage-earning, tax-paying citizen of South Florida and a very respected volunteer for Dr. Regina Sheeran's Corrections Transition Program at Everglades Correctional Institution. Welcome to the show, Grover. Welcome.
Yeah, glad to be here. Thank you.
Now, Grover, you got to tell us how the name Grover Cleveland Alexander came about.
Okay, my name is Grover Cleveland Alexander III. As you know, men like to name their sons behind after themselves. Okay. Now, take like right now with Trump. What's going on right now? Trump is very famous among certain people. I imagine that some people will put Trump's name on their offspring,
children.
on their children.
Of course.
Okay. I am Grover Cleveland III. My father is Grover Cleveland Jr. My grandfather is Grover Cleveland Sr. So I'm the third generation of that. During that time there, Grover Cleveland, the 22nd president, was very famous, right? And he didn't get reelected for be the 23rd president, but he was reelected for the 24th president.
Right,
so it can be done, right?
Yeah.
It's what Trump is trying to do now.
So actually, your grandfather was named after Grover Cleveland, the president,
Grover Cleveland,
and then your father was named after your grandfather, and you were named after your father.
Exactly.
Very interesting.
Right. That's how it runs. You have a famous president, right? So people name their offspring after important people. Just like right now, Trump is an important person. I'm not saying he's beloved by everybody, but he is very important in a sense. And I'm quite sure new babies coming in, but some kind of way get that.
Grover, you became a Muslim
Yeah,
back in the 1960s. You were drawn to the writings of Malcolm X. Talk about that.
Well, during that time there in the 60s, when blacks were segregated from like in school, segregated like in certain jobs, even in the prison that time, prisons were segregated at that time. And at that time there, blacks really didn't have a speak, didn't have a voice. But you had Marcus, you had Martin Luther King.
Mm-hmm.
You had certain other people. You had different, religious people, but not. But the person who always spoke out the most was Malcolm X. And during that time, I was in my young teens, and just to listen to what Malcolm had said. Malcolm had been in prison,
yes,
and came out, right? And what was really attractive about Malcolm was his ability to speak and speak with authority. And during that time there was no such thing as what you had, the Black Panthers, You had the different what you had Marvin Scarby. You had different black, leaders, but nobody seemed to attract the low class and the masculine amount of blacks that was running around there. And then you had Malcolm.
But now your father was also a Muslim, but from a different generation, correct?
On my father's side of the family, that you could call your, not your pedigree, that's an animal, but you have your, call it when you have your ancestry.
You're right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my ancestry on my father's side, on my grandfather's side, go all the way back to the Moors in the southern part of Spain.
Okay.
So therefore, on that side of the family, there are a lot of Muslims in my family.
Gotcha.
Right. So it was very easy for me to.
See, I don't know much about the Muslim faith other than what you've talked to me about. How do Muslims look on crime? Are you violating some basic fundamentals?
Yeah, okay. Yes. For the crime. Yeah, because Muslims are taught not to be criminals.
Okay.
Okay. Right. So for myself, my own belief. Okay. As a Muslim, I know right from wrong. Right. As a Muslim, you want to live an upright life. You want to believe in the Creator, and you want to respect other people's belief. But at the same time, I was young and growing into the faith. So in certain respects, I violated certain principles of being a Muslim, but it still did not deny me of being a Muslim. It's just like this. You have good Muslims, you have bad Muslims. You have good Christians, you have bad Christians. Right or wrong?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. A person can be whatever he wants to be and believe, but that does not make him straight up, right?
But yet, when you were a young man, you said you left your house at 16. You didn't live at your home anymore. You had an altercation with your father, and you left the house, correct? And I think that's when you were arrested the first time for a burglary with a friend of yours?
Right, yes.
Okay, talk about that briefly.
Well, at that time, okay, my mother and father had a misunderstanding, but Nard and I intervened on my mother's behalf and fired a firearm at my father, not meaning to kill him.
You shot a gun at your dad, just trying to scare him?
Yes.
And 1 second. Tommy, when you get a chance, our producer, can you pull picture number 1 up on the screen so people can see Grover's mother and father? Mm-hmm. There they are. Now, so you had an altercation at the age of 16. You fired a weapon at your father to scare him, and then you basically were told you had to leave the house.
Yes. My sister, one of my sisters came and warned me and informed me that daddy and mom was having a misunderstanding like this. So
okay.
I went around to the house and I fired the gun into the room and told my father, "Don't touch my mother."
Right. But
ever
so he had a history of violence with your mother?
Yes and no. But at my age, there could be no more violence. Mm-hmm. So when I fired the weapon at my father in the defense of my mother, but not, and once the altercation had resolved to a certain extent, that's when my father told me I would no longer live in that house.
Right.
In his house, whatever. So you
you
get your clothes and you get out.
But now a big thing in your life. Your brother also had an altercation with your father. Your brother actually killed your father, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
That was my baby brother, but that was years later.
Years later.
Okay. And I cannot say that my brother had an altercation with my father, what the situation was between my father and my baby brother, because I was no longer in the house and my baby brother he's the baby.
Okay.
So I mean, he's so much younger than me, so therefore I don't know what kind of life he was living in the house with my mother, my father, with that, because I was not living there. They were infants, whatever, young children, whatever. They growing up, so that I did not live in the house at that time. I was second or oldest child. So
see, learning your history and how your life transformed you is very interesting for us, because when I met you, you were already a respected volunteer at the Corrections Transition Program. Many of the men in prison look up to you. You're a role model to them, and you guide them in many ways. So learning about your past is very, very interesting. So what you had told me was that when the problems in your life really started relative to the armed robberies that we referenced in your introduction, that started after you married Mayetta. Your daughter was born, and then a woman named Wilhelmina entered into your life, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Discuss that. Okay.
When my daughter was born, you know, and of course my wife spent a lot of time with our daughter, but just spent a lot of time out going fishing and playing, you know, going to different houses, and we played cards or we gambled or whatever. And in the process of going around and doing that, then I met Wilhelmina, who was alone by herself, whatnot.
Right.
And I was living at that time, then I was living in Union County, but I spent most of my time in Duval County.
Because that's where she lived.
Yeah, right. That's where Wilhelmina lived. So therefore, it gave me an opportunity to be away from the house and to do different things that I would never do with my wife.
Right. You know? So you were burning the candle at both ends, as they say, and that was tough.
Yes, because it's a lot of miles between where I lived and where.
Yeah.
So therefore, I spent a lot of time on the road. Right. But you know how it is sometimes when women wear heels, and at the same time they'll have a different pair of shoes, soft shoes or something in there, worse or there. And Wilhelmina, that some particular night, whatever, left her heels in my car.
In your car.
And was wearing her other pair of shoes when she went back to her house about 11.
You think she did that on purpose?
I can't say she did it on purpose, but
that's what women do.
Yes, I believe that's what your ex-wife alleged, correct?
Right. Okay. After the incident, but not when my wife had told my daughter Veronica, you know,
right,
clean out daddy's car. At that time, I had a car in the truck, so I would drive the car. Sometimes drive the truck. So I don't know, on some particular occasion, Wilhelmina had left her shoes in the car. I didn't know they had left. I didn't pay no attention to it. So when Veronica, my daughter, was cleaning up the car, she like
came across them.
You know, she's just like cleaning out daddy's car. Everything there, she's just going to take it out of the car because that don't belong in the car, right? She didn't know whose shoes it was, but she was just clean the car for daddy, for mama, okay? And
your wife sees these shoes and does what?
I don't know what she did when she first saw the shoes, but I know when I came home that particular night, the shoes were sitting on the table.
On the dining room table.
Right, dining table right there where I could make sure I was.
As a woman would do, right?
So now at this point, what you explained to me was that your life went into total chaos because she was mad because you had cheated on her and you couldn't work, you couldn't eat, you couldn't sleep, and she wouldn't take you back. And you snapped. What happened?
Well, over a period of time when I couldn't work, I couldn't sleep. We had a joint bank account, whatnot. So over a period of time, I'm running through the money. Have to pay, had to eat, had to pay for the gas, and I also had to have a place to stay, right? So after a while, there was no money in the account.
And you weren't working at that time?
I wasn't. Well, I started working just 4 days a week. Right? And then Wilhelmina calling the job and leaving, they didn't have cell phones, right? Leaving notes there by the clerk, Janice, So when I come in from work, so I had to get on the line, on the landline, make this call, this, that call there, listen to her, this and that there,
Right.
and then go home and try to face my wife and trying to get out of this mess that I got myself into. It didn't get better. It got worse. Meaning, wanted me to actually come there. When I said, no, I cannot leave my wife. I cannot do that. Even though I'm not sleeping. We said, oh, you don't sleep with your wife. Then this one thing after another, one thing after another, not. And then the supervisor at the job said that you're not working like you used to work anymore. Well, you can't even work a full week anymore. Right? I tell you what, just send the check to the house. When I'm done working. Okay, so that's when everything sat right there. When I quit my job, had no money. Okay, had to have some kind of way to survive. I couldn't sleep with my wife. Couldn't stay there. Couldn't stay anywhere in the world I could go there and live in Wilhelmina's apartment, because that's the first thing my wife would say, oh, that's where you wanted to be all the time. Okay,
Right.
so that was a no-no. And Wilhelmina did not like that. He said, since you were breaking up with your wife, there's no reason why you cannot live with me. I think.
Right. So as Dr. Sheeran says, most of the men who end up in prison are there because of bad choices and bad decisions. And your decision was to rob a Sears Roebuck in the 1970s.
Well, right. It was my decision at that time. I needed money, but from dealing with Sears and Roebuck, whatnot, I know I could cash checks there and stuff there. I know they have safe there, whatnot. And so one night I just snapped, right? And that was my first robbery. My first robbery. A couple like $6,000-7,000 or something like that. A bunch of checks and whatnot. And
so take us through that, kind of quickly. No mask. You didn't wear a mask. There's no cameras. You walk in with a loaded weapon, and you said, "Give me your money."
I walked in with a .38 revolver in the newspaper, folded up in the newspaper, just carried the newspaper, and went back to where they fill out the checks and went to the clerk there, the mail clerk there, whatnot, and told him I wanted to write some checks for none, and then we need to go to the office right there. So we walked back in the office. When we went back in the office, they and I showed in the guns and auto. This is a robbery. Open that safe. I want all that money out of the safe. It's not yours. Don't try to be a hero. And don't even run, make no noise with nothing. Okay? He did exactly what I said. I said, now get back over there and sit down and close the door. And I walked out nonchalantly, just like nothing had happened. Walked through the mall, right? And got in my vehicle the first time. That's how easy it was the first time. And then
you got $6,000 to $7,000 in that robbery, which I believe was your biggest robbery, correct? In terms of money?
No.
I thought you said that was the robbery.
That was the first one, right? But I've had a lot of.
Okay.
I had got to the point where I needed at least $2,000 or $3,000 all the time. I need to have that kind of much money in my pocket to live. So sometimes I would, even though if I got maybe $1,000, but not, if it wasn't enough, I would rob another place.
It was a Pizza Hut.
Not well, Pizza Hut, but they would be open and they would be counting the money or whatnot. So I knew I had money there too. And but restaurants, I don't know. It's like
you were convicted on 6 armed robberies, but in reality, you said there was probably 12 to 15.
Yes, probably more, because in certain counties I had. If I didn't get at least $1,500 or $2,000 in a robbery, I would go rob another place to make up the quota.
How long did this last?
Over for 79 to 80 or 10,
year and
12
a half?
Months, 13 months, somewhere right in there, right?
About a year.
Now at this point, see, I mean, today there's cameras, your face would be plastered all over the media, but back then all we had was a composite sketch of you,
right? So, but I mean, I never wore a mask, never covered the face, I never robbed anybody, took their watches or their jewelry or anything. I said, no, I'm not. This is company money. It's not your money. No, don't risk your life.
And you never wore a mask or anything like that?
No.
No.
Wow, times have changed. I mean, imagine today.
I know.
No, you don't worry about the mirrors
There's
and cameras.
Cameras everywhere.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Right. And that's like,
All right. Now you've done all these robberies for a year and a half. They're on the lookout for this African-American guy that's robbing places. Now you're coming home for Wilhelmina's in the middle of the night.
I'm coming through Green Coast Springs.
What happened? Police
stopped me. Right. I'm the tag on my car from Alachua County. That's not gang. That's Gainesville, right? I'm coming through Green Coast Spring. That's another county. He stopped me. He seen the tag, and he stopped me, and he seen the face, and asked me, certain questions. But now, then he asked me, "You mind stepping out of the car?" I said, "No, I don't mind stepping out of the car."
Did you sense that he recognized you?
No, I didn't sense that he recognized me. But I just that he recognized the tag coming through that county, right? And I don't live in that county. I was just passing through.
It was an odd time of the day.
It was 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning.
So it's an odd time of the day.
Right. I'm coming in. I'm trying to get home. I'm trying to get out. Right. And I'm rather than go down what the highway was that way, I wanted to take the shortcut and come through here, right? And come through that little town. But I had also done robbed 2 places in that county.
So they were on the lookout for somebody that had been robbing places in or around that county and probably adjacent counties there.
Right. I mean, there north side when you had Lake City, Putman,
Alachua.
Right. No, didn't know Alachua. You have Marion County, what do you call it? Columbia County. I don't know.
Does he want to search your car?
Okay, after I stepped out the car, went on, and he looked at my face, went on, and he said, "Do you mind if I search your car?" When he said that, all the red lights went off, right? Because I had a loaded 38.
Loaded?
Oh, okay.
Loaded gun in the car?
Oh, yeah, always. I mean, I was sleeping with a gun now, because you just don't walk around with a, unloaded gun, especially when you're robbing. And I had the gun under the seat on the passenger side. I knew it was in there. And plus there was a money bag in there too from another or something like that. So when he asked me, could he search my car? I said, no. When I said that, he said, I'm gonna call back up, right? We're standing by the car. I don't care who you call.
How many cars showed up?
I don't know, 4, 5, the chief of police and
Little county, the whole police department, probably.
Damn near the whole county of Green Coast Springs.
Yeah.
What's the name? Green Coast Spring is in, what's the name of the county?
Okay.
Anyway, but I had 2 robberies there already in that county, somewhere in that county.
So you're standing outside the car.
Right, with the officer.
And there's 4 or 5 police cars pull up. What do you do?
I'm just standing there and we just talking whatnot, And the chief of police says, well, we're going to have to, take you in and whatnot. We're going to search your car and whatnot. I said, all right. So the red lights go off right then. So when he said that, I pushed him out the way, shoved him out the way and fled. Okay. They started shooting. Right? This is at nighttime now.
So you push the sheriff you take off.
I took off.
By foot.
On foot.
By foot.
And how far away were you when they opened fire?
Oh, fast enough for me to get, 10, 15, 20 yards, whatever, before they get the guns out of the holster, whatnot, because all this happened without them really being, plus they had to pick up but one of the bullets came by and could feel the heat of it. And
grazed your temple?
We came right through here, right? Okay, I say that to say this because once I jumped into the pond, the lake, or whatever the water was there, swam. Of course, at night, they couldn't find me. When they brought the dog in, right? But the dog couldn't pick up the scent because I went across the river swimming at that time at night, in the wintertime too, something when it was cold, right? But in the end, when they had me in the jailhouse, I was going through this crime, that crime, the officer there. He said, I don't know how you got away. because I generally hit what I shoot at, and you're not supposed to be alive today, right? I say I'm with me, whatever, okay. But now, see, now I'm talking to them now because now I already surrendered because I'm in the police officer. And they come to another station to bring the witnesses, whatnot. Is this him? You know, going through the lineups. So he was telling me that you're a very lucky man.
I can't believe that you actually escaped like that. I mean, and got away. I mean,
because I went across the river in the river or whatever there was right there. I swam across.
And they weren't able to drive around to the other side.
No, not that. They had once they couldn't find me in that side or whatever. When they brought the dog in, the dog couldn't go no further into the
right
to the edge of the river, whatever it was in Green Coast.
So where did you go?
Across?
So now you're over on the other side. Where'd you go? Because you left your car. The car is registered under your name.
Right.
A loaded weapon in the car. A bag of probably a place you robbed.
Right. Money. Yeah.
A money bag. Right.
Right.
So you're on the other side of the bank. Where do you go?
In the woods until I come out where it got away, whereas was where I was away from the scene where they were still looking on that side or whatever, but they had no way. The dog lost the scent because dog can smell you, of course, in the water. But anyway, they didn't get me. So at that time, once I got away, at that time, I know my life was over. Okay, it was over. Okay, because now they have the car. They had the tag, but not. So it's only a matter of time before they get right.
Piece it all together.
Right. So it was before they piece it all together, right? But now I live in Union County, but this is Green Coast Springs. What's the name of that little seat there? Orange. What's the name of the seat? Anyway.
Well,
but they didn't catch me, right? I called my wife on the phone. Explained to her, I'm in deep trouble, honey. I need you to just come get me and whatnot over there, right? Okay.
Hold on one second. Tommy, can we bring up the photo of, I think it's photo number 2 of Grover's wife, ex-wife? There it is. She's sitting in the middle, right, with a blue dress on? Okay. Go ahead. Now, your wife, you call her, she calls you, says, hey, they're looking for you.
This is before. They're not looking for me then because they haven't really put the address and stuff together.
Right.
All that hadn't materialized yet. So I'm still ahead of them, but I need somebody to come get me so I can get that.
Yeah, it's just a matter of time before they figure out where you live and who you are, and then it's over.
Then it's over. Right.
But now, at what point, your wife gives you probably the most valuable advice that you took, and that's why you're sitting here today, a free man. So talk about the advice your wife gave you.
Well, after I got away from that situation there, I didn't want to, put my whole family into there, but I had my baby sister take me across the state line into Georgia, okay, and pay for my room and the board room in the hotel,
right,
in the motel for 2 weeks, okay. So I'm paid up for 2 weeks, okay, and I have a gun,
right.
Well, making a gun, okay. So I'm sitting there for 2 weeks, just idle, getting, eating, whatever, just relaxing, and let them know that once the rent is up, I have to go. So that night, when I was getting ready to go, prepared to go, we had to go out to the truck stop, and you get out and you catch your truck stop, you catch
right.
So I called my wife and told her, I said, baby, this is the last time I'll be able to talk to you right now. My life is over. I'm out of here, and probably will never see you again. And that's when she told me, she says, Grover, I would never see you a dead man. I would never want to see you a dead man. But I will not want to come in and identify your body, because the way it's going right now, they're going to kill you. I said, yes, you're right. They're going to kill me. That's why I have to go. And you will never see me again. But she says to me, she says, I would rather see you in jail. Right? but you have to come down there somewhere and identify your body. So if you was a man that you say you are, whatever or not, you would do the right thing.
So you gave up at that point? You turned yourself in?
We talked about it. They talked about it, and I told her, I said, and then she told me, she says, Grover, please do not do this to me. Not that. So I said, you're right. Right, you're right. Everything that's been done wrong, it's my fault, this and that there. And she says to me, she says, please, don't make them kill you. Right? Be a man, right? That I know you are, and turn yourself in. I said, I know you can live in prison.
Right. So that's when you contacted a sheriff Whitehead from Union County and negotiated your surrender.
See, whatever. The sheriff of them had been calling her or not, looking for me, but not. And other sheriffs around the other counties have been calling the sheriff of that county, Union County, the dean of Florida sheriff, asking him why they can't apprehend me because I live in his county, right? And him being the dean of Florida sheriff, I mean, you can't arrest, find this guy? Right. So therefore, there was a lot of phone calls and the police coming back and forth to harassing my mother, harassing my wife and harassing my mother in High Springs and whatnot. So John, I said, let me call John. That's the high sheriff, the dean of Florida sheriff at that time.
Right.
And he explained to me, he said, boy, you're in a lot of trouble. You're in a lot of trouble right now. I said, they want you somewhere everywhere in North. You know, been somewhere everywhere, but not. He said, do the right thing. Right. If you do the right thing, whatnot, you could live to see another day. Right.
This was Sheriff Whitehead.
Sheriff Whitehead talking now.
Right.
I said, yeah. Okay. So I tell you what, I'm out of the country. I'm out of the state right now. But you give me one day, I would turn myself in and be in your office no later than 5 o'clock.
Did you know him before this?
He's the sheriff of the county in which I lived in.
So you knew him.
But you knew of him. You never met him?
Oh, yeah. I mean, like, let me explain this to you. Back then, we used to do like a lot of hunting, coon hunting with trained dogs, deer. Up there, that's a gun counter. Okay?
Yeah.
There's a lot of hunting, but not. Mm-hmm. So with him and a lot of whatever his deputies, we did a lot of night hunting. Okay, so therefore, I knew he was a good man, right? But at the same time, my wife, I knew what she was saying. What is right. If you were the man that you claim to be, but now you'll do the right thing and don't put me through that. Okay, and I said, honey, you're right. I said, tell me, look at.
You know, I always ask Grover, I said, like, was the gun always loaded when you did a robbery? And he said, quote, I had to instill fear, you had to instill fear when robbing. So, I mean, what does that mean? I mean,
but you can't, I mean, if you're out there robbing, right? Somebody could pull out a gun and shoot you or whatever. I mean, you have to, what happened? I mean, what happened if somebody tried to grab the gun from you or whatever? No. If you're going to be out there doing wrong, I mean, you have to have a gun.
And you think you would have used the gun if you had to?
If I had to, right, yes.
Right.
But you never did.
I never had to because I could always instill fear in them whatnot. And then, no, this ain't no play.
You always felt bad because you said there was only one woman that you touched.
Okay, yeah. Okay. In one,
she was trying to run out of the room.
Yes, no, I had them right there. Had everybody. It was 3 or 4, but they're doing closing time and 3 or 4, but not. And she broke the run out the door, and I caught her by the arm. But I said, no, because then she would have run outside and been hollering and screaming. And I said, no, I won't harm you, I won't hurt you, but you cannot go out there and then come back in. So, I mean.
When you're committing a crime, it's curious to me. You just said you want to instill fear in the person. Was it your demeanor? Was it because you never fired the gun? I mean, that would obviously instill fear.
Okay, look at me, right? If I walk into the place with nod and tell, look, this is the robbery. I want the goddamn, I want the money, okay? It's not your money, right? Don't put your life out there, okay? Right. Bag the money up, all of it, right? And don't say nothing, do nothing stupid or whatnot, because it's not your money, man, okay?
So the seriousness, the look in your eye, that sort of thing?
Spoke with authority.
This spoke with authority.
You know what I noticed is when Grover tells me stories about his life in prison and showing people how he can overcome conflict, his demeanor changes, his affect changes, and he becomes a scarier guy. Because what Grover told me, we're going to get into this now about life in prison, is that I asked him, how did you survive 30 years of prison? He said, forget who you were prior to going into prison. You have to shed your skin like a snake sheds its skin and become a different person who you probably are not. And that's probably very hard for a lot of people to do. So let's skip here to the trial, because what was it? There was a guy named Hanging Judge up in Union County. Hanging Judge gave you a life sentence. A life sentence said, how dare you, correct me if I'm wrong, he said, how dare you come to my county and rob the good white people of my county, correct?
Correct. At that time there, Judge Eastmore of Putnam County, Putnam County was a hanging judge. And he was the first case I went through, the judge. He got first whatever, trial or whatever, and then the lawyer would not, and my lawyer would not, and I was telling him. So I talked to Sheriff Whitehead that only way for you to get out of all this here is to be straight with them, whatnot, and they'll treat you fair and stuff like that. So the only way I could really work this out was to be honest with these people, right? But when Judge Eastmore, once I pled guilty to 2 counts of robbery in Putnam County, he sentenced me to a life sentence and 25 years on another sentence. He gave me the first life sentence, gave me the only life sentence. So he says to me, you have a lot of nerve to come into this county and rob the good white citizens of this county. You have a lot of nerve. Peaceful living people, and you come into this county, right? You see, I'm in another county, right? You see, to rob the good white citizens of this county, my county.
So he gave you a life sentence.
Yeah, but see, what's interesting is that, you go through 6 trials and you're found guilty in all 6, and one judge gives you a life sentence, and then the other ones give you 30, 40, 50 years. Grover was looking at 250 years on top of a life sentence.
Wow.
But it doesn't matter because the sentences are served concurrently.
Right.
So
the longest one is
the life sentence, which at the time was 25 years mandatory. So all he had to do is get paroled out after 25 years. Correct?
Well, I thought I can get out in 20. I thought I could get out in 20, but it took 27 years, okay? But when Judge Eastmore said what he said, right, that I understood what he said. He said, why would you come in another person's county with not and do what you did with not, So, so I understood what he was saying with not, come here and rob the good white citizens. People. Putnam County is a what's called a red county, Republican county.
What was just out of curiosity? I mean, you walk into jail that first day. You're a very young man at the time, right?
33.
And
you coming to jail or the prison?
The prison. I'm sorry. And you go in that first day. You know you're going to be there for 25 years. What is that like? That very first day?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, you don't really go into the prison at first. You go into the jail. You go into jail and you. I
guess the question is the realization that now the trial ended and you're going to be in a prison for a minimum 25 years. I wonder what's going through your mind when you start that process.
That's a great question. So let me also set it up with some other great advice that Grover got from his wife's grandfather, because after Grover was convicted, his grandfather said, forget the girl, meaning his granddaughter.
I wasn't convicted yet.
Learn how to live in the prison.
Okay, right. Let me go back there. when I called the sheriff, explained to him I want to turn myself in. I just want to come in the county for one part of the day, and I don't want to be shot down like a dog. I don't want you call your deputies off, whatnot.
Safe passage.
Yeah, you want a safe passage for one day, and I'll come in, I'll give myself up, and I'll bring the weapon. He said, "Word of honor." I said, "Word of honor." Right? Okay. And so when I was talking to Papa, my white grandfather, explaining that, Papa, I'm got to go in and I'll talk to John, so that I've done, what I've done with it. Now, Papa told me, he said, forget about Mayor, his daughter, his granddaughter, right? Well, we will take care of Mayor, but forget about her, okay? Go into the prison and learn how to live in the prison. Learn the prison life, okay? And live to see another day, okay? So I understood what Papa was saying. Forget about what's out here. Learn how to live in the prison.
And when I asked you, well, how do you learn how to live in a prison? Just like Andy said, you're 33 years old. Other than a little bit of time when you were 17, you had never been to really spend much time in an adult prison. So what you told me was you got to get power. If you're going to survive, you need power. Tell us how you get power in a prison like the two you were in. You were in the two toughest prisons in the state of Florida. You were at Florida State Prison in Stark, and you were at Union Correctional Institution in
Rayford.
In Rayford. You were at both of them for 25 years. How do you get power at the age of 33?
Well, first of all, you have to understand who runs the prison. Is it the wardens, the chief of the prison, or is it a certain captain running the prison? All right. Well, you have to learn prison rules and do's and don'ts, whatnot, and what is permissible and what is not permissible. Right. And now you have to realize also there's little cliques and little gangs in there, and there's also contraband. Okay. You can't have a bunch of people locked up in the prison system like that there and don't have any kind of what's called
release.
Like right now, in general, what's going on in the world today, the whole world is that going some kind of release or whatever it's doing. Okay, right. I mean, but so now in the prison, you got guys getting confined with this and that for years and years, whatever. Right. So there has to be some water to open the floodgates of heaven, let something happen. Right? So therefore, then you start learning how to organize. And you become, like right now, football season is in, but not. So that's out of gambling, there's betting. Then there's always going to be a certain amount of alcohol made or right. Come in. But
so you're saying they allow alcohol and drugs at a certain level?
To a certain level and a certain amount of people. It can't be just out in the open. It can't be just exposed. It can't be walking around like crazy people, but not. It has to be some kind of organization in there. Yeah, true.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, when you talk about power, you said you must be able in prison to show how to settle grievances. Take us through a grievance you had to settle, and how did you settle it?
Okay. Like, I had the position where I had control of the front gate. Okay. So I'm able to do things. Contraband, green money, so much, 10% off the top or whatever we're doing to them. So I'm able to do certain things because of the position I'm in. Keep my mouth shut, mind my own business, do not steal, take nothing, do everybody, but I don't do anything out of myself. So this guy comes up there and whatnot, he throws green bill on the floor whatnot and tells my friend, give me some of that, and I say, throw that back out there. Nothing comes in and out of the cell, man. Nothing. You know that, right? So later on the next day, whatever, Sunday or whatever, this guy hits my buddy, whatever. Then I went out and told him and say, tell so-and-so that about me, right? So the next day, his main man comes to me and said, do you know what happened in dining hall the other day? I said, I have no idea what happened. He told me what happened. So I said, go down there and tell my buddy to come here and whatnot. I said, what happened in the dining hall the other day? He said, yeah, so-and-so came and punched me in the side that day and told me, said, yeah, tell that so-and-so me like that. And so I said, well, why didn't you tell me? So he said, I didn't want you to kill him. I said, I'm not going to kill him. But there's certain things and we have respect in the prison. And I have to address this foul here because otherwise they would not have respect for me. See? So I have to address this. So I address that. I go to the free man law. I say, this guy and I had a beef. We need to settle it right now. This is how the old person was. It's all right. You got 10, 15 minutes that day. And when I say break it up, that's it. Okay. Right. So we go down there on the bottom floor, but not, you know, like that, square off. And we get ready to go down there and get patted down. The dude sucker punches me while I got my hand again. Right. Okay. Sucker punch me. Right. So I said, that's all you got? You don't have enough. Because see, he's already wrong. He got fear and he's already wrong because he knows right now I'm not going to accept it. Right. So we got in and I first of all told him to pick him up and throw him in the head. But the other guy, his home little click thing said, no, you can't do it like that. You got to just straight up out. No problem. But I want to break his neck, but legally. Right. So anyway, so after that, when he says to me, he said, you borrowed from the gym, you saw in the gym, it's on this and that there. I said, okay, no problem. And then he mentioned something else about my buddy there, right? So I says to him, I thought it was just about the dope or the drugs, man, and the money and whatnot. I didn't know it was about my friend here. But I tell you what, if somebody mentioned his name to me or whatever again, I'll break it in there. How about that? And as far as the gym, no problem. This is my prison. I can go anywhere. The administration knows who the top dog in this prison, okay?
Top dog to the point where they would bring in elected officials to interview you about how to keep order in the prison, correct?
You're from the Gainesville law enforcement in Gainesville bring in politicians from Tallahassee, but not, lawyers, senators, whatever, not come in and want to understand how the prison is being maintained without the killings, without the rapes, and I mean, how is the power structure? So they called me out and they said, "Well, we want you to talk to these people there and explain certain things to them. We know you're one of these essential convicts around here, whatnot, that can sell squawks and things like that, and you keep order whatnot, but they know how it works."
So you were an enforcer in the prison, in essence.
Not by physical force, but by right. Because I had the power to do things. I could go where they couldn't go.
Well, you were a runner on death row at Union Correctional Institution, correct?
Yes.
So you were going to death row, and these guys needed access to the outside more than anybody, and they would pay you to get them things, correct?
Okay, is this how it works? You have guys on death row, we're just waiting to die, whatever.
Ted Bundy was at Union when you were there, correct?
Ted Bundy was there, right? And let's talk to him, but I mean, I never got in this case, but he's just doing his time and like anybody else. But like this, they would need certain amount of drugs, right? Then they would need certain amount of cash money to do things, whatever. So therefore, I could have money sent with a car or write-in. Or write out, whatever, mail in, mail out, whatever. Look, you send money here, okay? I would take 25% off the top, and you would get that money, the cash money, whatever. That's why you can't have a prison and there's no money in the prison.
Right.
It doesn't work like that. Green money is contraband, true enough, right? But green money is also life. Blood, power. So I would have money sent now, to get the money in here for doing what they need in there, because death row is kind of tight. See, when I go into the death row visiting part, right? I mean, like other guys know, man, there's Al, man. I mean, like They know what I could do and what I cannot do. You know, I was.
You know, Grover and I have done a number of conferences, you know, in Orlando, Miami, where they bring in students of criminal justice. And I'm the moderator for those conferences, and we've done them in Coral Gables. And Grover stands up and does a piece on never loan anything to anybody in prison. Can you give us a short version of that?
Right. I mean, like, okay, you know, when you come into prison, it's still you have bullets. If you have something you want, you know, man, like a guy, you might say, "God, let me see your ring there." Right? If he's dumb enough to let you take a ring on, let you see the ring, and then, hey man, check this out here. Look at that, man. All right. Then it's going down the line somewhere, right? When he gets by to ask about the ring, say, hey, who got the ring, man? Right. It's gone. It's gone. Okay. Right. So now I might be able to get it back for you, man. From you, I might be able to get it back for you. It depends on how, you know. I don't know. You won't probably have to pay for it. I don't know, but you know that's on you, man. I mean, like, but see, that's
stay out of prison.
That's what you do with new cops first coming in, right? People who don't know the ropes and stuff like that have to learn how to live in prison.
Right.
See?
So you spent 27 years behind bars, right?
Right.
What was the first day out like?
The first day out? Okay, first of all, my first day out would have been December 26, 2007.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that would have been my first day out, the
day after Christmas.
Okay, but they wouldn't let me out.
For Christmas?
The day after Christmas.
They lost his paperwork. They told him he was being released, and then they lost your paperwork, correct?
Yeah, they didn't lose the paperwork. Most people's on vacation on the Christmas holiday,
right?
The day after Christmas, right?
Right, yes.
But the Tallahassee already sent word that I'm to be released on December 26, 2007. Okay? When December 26 came, 2007, they couldn't get the count clear. They were one over. Right? And I'm up front going up to the classification officer and telling them, look, I'm supposed to be released today. And they're telling me, no, we don't. I said, I tell you what. No, I said, no, I take that back. I said, because I'm saying Dr. Sharon would never approve of me telling this. You're going to, right? You understand what I'm saying? So I caught myself. I said, no, Grover, she would not appreciate you. That. So okay, I'm going to go back to the dorm. You sure? So I go back, right? And then I see the warden, the sister warden walking down the compound, whatnot. You know. So I asked the officers in the building there, say, can I talk to the warden? Put on there because I'm supposed to be released today and nobody seems to know anything about it. And she let me go out and talk to the warden, you know, sister warden, whatnot. And he told me, he said, I tell you what, when I get back on front, I will check into that case for you and see, right? And then I already told Dr. Sharon that they wasn't going to release me. Okay, so everybody was in, and I was, you know, upset too, right? Because I knew I was supposed to be released,
right?
But after that, when Perkins went up there and he found my release papers, I got out of jail or the prison that night. That night. When I tried to make some calls to the halfway house, whatever, before I supposed to go down, I couldn't get through nothing like that. I was stranded at the tri-rail, right? So I said, let me call Dr. Sharon.
So what time did you leave? You always leave on a Tuesday.
Right.
So they put you in a car, a van, and who drove you to the tri-rail station?
The sergeant drove me to the tri-rail station.
And they just dropped you off.
No, he said right there. No, got to put you on the train. He said right there into the.
And what did they give you? Did the Corrections Transition Program have any clothing for you?
I got
money,
own personal clothing from one of the other guys' wives.
Okay.
Doug McCrae's
wife
bought my release clothes. Okay. But the administration had to give me $50, what it was.
$50, and then you go to a halfway house.
Right. But when I got on to the train, I couldn't make any contact with the halfway house. Everybody was shut down, whatnot. So I was stranded. So I called Dr. Sharon, right? That time of the night, and she picked up. You know, I thought maybe she might have almost like had a heart attack because they told her they were not going to let me out. And she was surprised that I was out. And I said, no, doc, I didn't escape.
She thought you busted out.
Yeah.
Tommy, can you pull up picture number 3, please? Because we're going to show you a picture of Grover when he was in prison with Dr. Sheeran. I believe there's Grover on the right and Dr. Sheeran in the middle. Now, Grover, they just one night told you from Union or Rayford, they shipped you down to Everglades Correctional Institution and didn't even tell you that you were going until the night before. Now you meet Dr. Sheeran and you realize, wow, at the Everglades Correctional Institution is the Corrections Transition Program. I may be getting out of here after 27 years. It just dawned on you that this little woman, she held the key to a certain extent, correct?
Correct. When they knocked on my door at 12:30 that night, when the midnight shift changed, they knocked on the door and told me to pack it up, bag and baggage. Alexander, they're shipping you out. I said, shipping me out? I didn't ask you to go nowhere. All right. Said, but no, but you being shipped out, you're going out, man. I said, well, where am I going? He said, I'm not supposed to tell you, but they say you're going to Everglades. I said, Everglades? Where is that at? Never been to Everglades. I said, I don't know where it's at either, but that's where you're going. Okay, so I tell you what, I need to get out and give away some things, but not pick some things because I have that and that. Because you got money out, you got this and that.
Right, you said a bunch of people owed you thousands of dollars.
Well, they owe me $1,000, but they owed me some money and stuff like that, right? Because I got people doing things, stuff like that. But now I'm gonna lose this because now I'm being shipped out and I can't really do anything. So it was a financial loss in a sense, right? But it was a total surprise. I had no idea that I was going to be transferred.
Right.
And I didn't know how. I never really knew about Everglades or heard anything about Everglades, so it was a total surprise to me.
Wow. Wow. Interesting story, right?
Yeah.
What was your first impression of Dr. Sheeran when you met her?
When I first met Dr. Sheeran, I watched and listened to the little old lady talk, but not, and I was saying to myself,
okay,
who she thinks she is. But I mean, that's just a little lady. I mean, like, yeah. And then, when I was sitting down at the table, she came down and sit down at the table, and and she put a little chapstick on or something on her lip. And I said, and you came, why you came to sit at my table? Only reason why you came to sit at my table because nobody else is going to come to sit at this table. They're not going to sit at my table. So when I came there to Everglades, I still had my, what you call it?
Reputation.
Right. I still had my no touch. Right. Not to be messed with. Okay. So I still had that because he just come. That's Alexander. So my reputation goes all over that. So I said, the only reason why you're sitting here because you can eat here in peace. They ain't finna come sit here. Now this table. Right. I mean, that's how I was. I mean, like I just didn't have that, because I still had that. I had money, I had power, and that go with what happened today when I went back to court. I went back to court one time for Marion County to do 2 robbery cases on the thing, right? And then when I come back with not, they wanted to they transferred me to from the East Unit, they transferred me to Everglades.
Okay. Right.
They transferred me to Everglades. And the first day I got to Everglades, right, I really didn't want to be there. And they gave me an assignment. And I'm walking down the sidewalk, and 4 or 5 convicts there whatnot point me. I said, "You are Alexander, aren't you?" I said, "Yeah. What's it to you?" Good night. He said, "Well, tell you what, you're not going to run anything here." Right. So that's the kind of welcome I got.
Wow.
At a brand new prison. I said, "I tell you what, I don't want to be here, and I'm not going to be here. And I appreciate it if you get the so and so out of my way." Okay. So I knew it was too dangerous for me to live there in the open dorm, live there like this. Everybody sleeping, but no. said, no, not staying here.
And the word would go from one facility to
Your reputation goes wherever you go, right?
within the facilities.
Well, because men get transferred all over the state.
And then they're talking to people within the facility, so they know.
You already knew.
Right. It's amazing how many people at Everglades, serve time with a guy, all over the place. So they kind of all know each other already.
I don't want to jump forward, but there is one thing I'm very curious about. You went away 27 years. You had your wife that you obviously regret what had happened, and then obviously a young daughter at that time. Are they still in your life today?
Yes, I was with my daughter's birthday and my grandson's birthday, and the wife was there too.
So they were waiting for you kind of when you came out, or?
No, not really waiting, because when I came out, I never really left South Florida.
Right.
They're in North Florida.
Okay.
So I never left, because when I got the job down here, all the anchors was here. So my wife we had divorced, so there wasn't no, and we were still, in communication. My daughter was doing good. My daughter was in the Army, coming on. My daughter has a master's degree. And so, everything was fine. My daughter's married. So everything was fine, but I was down here, and I'm still down here. Okay. But
so your ex-wife, she raised your daughter, and she's in the military, got a master's degree.
My daughter, yes.
Wow, that's
nice.
She's
out now. Veronica's out now.
She must have done a great job, your ex-wife.
Oh yeah, she did a great job. Great woman, man.
Well, Grover, talk about your life today, before we conclude today's show, because you are. We'll get into your job in a second, but you're also with the Corrections Transition Program. You're a moderator and counselor. So here you've spent 27 years in prison, and now you're out and you're one of the most respected advisors at the Corrections Transition Program. Dr. Sheeran thinks the world of you, and you help these men every Tuesday night at the prison. You guide them. So I know we haven't been there in a while because of COVID, but every Tuesday night I'm there, you're there. You grill the men. What is it that you do at the Corrections Transition Program on Tuesday nights? How do you help these men now?
Well, first of all, we have an understanding among us that whatever they're going through, I already been through. Okay, I already been through. And what you see now is me. Okay, I've done 27 years. Okay, like there was a time when I thought I would never get out of prison. I say, but I'm coming here and listening to this lady, okay, who has the key to your society, your freedom. Right? If you just go along with the program and do what you're supposed to do, you will get out of here. When I first came here, I didn't think I could get out. And I did. I didn't know why they sent me here. But ever since then, to get back to the program, to respect Dr. Sherman, but not realize that even a convict like me, like guys said, man, and I went down there, man, they had Alexander down there doing this and doing that there, which was kind of because they figured out, man.
What is the purpose when you have the men stand up in front of 100 other men and you grill them and you ask them questions and you put them on the spot? What is the purpose of all that?
We get them to come out and remember what they have done, where they are now, where you can go if you participate in the program and become the new person. Forget about the past, what you've done with not, and you can be a man, okay? You can be a man now, right? You can come in and be a part of this program, whatnot, and this program is about rehabilitation and putting you back in society.
Do you counsel them on what it's like getting back into society after a long period of time in prison like that?
Because you have to share that with them because like they're going into society whereas their cell phones,
everything's changed.
Everything has changed. Even when I first got out, I couldn't use a cell phone and this and that. It just something. But now the world is there's cameras everywhere, man. Okay, right. And the world is very fast now. And you go come out. If you got any kind of way, once you get a job, whatnot, you learn how to do different things. But now you become a new citizen, man.
Are you working at a job now?
Yeah.
Was it hard finding employment when you got out?
No. OIC. There's a picture of Dr. Sharon and I in I think Adriana, and I think one with Dr. Sharon's friend or the name is Dolly. Occupation Industrial Center. Okay, right. It's in partnering with what you call it, Workforce One. Okay, I went through that program. They grill you and learn what your skills are, this and that, there, and they have a different organization jobs, what you call companies, whatnot, that are waiting for people who have certain skills or whatnot, and then they bring you in, they test you and give you practice on certain jobs, whatnot, to learn that. Okay, so there's one, my what you call your code, what you call your worker, your
no.
Like a laborer or something?
No, I'm talking about your supervisor.
Right.
Guided me to this job that I have now. Okay, I work for Southeast ID, which is underwritten by Plasco.
Right. You make ID card. You laminate ID cards.
Laminate, die cut.
Tommy, can you bring up picture number 4? That's our last picture we have. And this was actually a picture of Grover's graduation that was from your vocational program, correct?
Vocational program, Occupation Industrial Center.
Right. So you were at Southeast ID for a number of years.
I still work for Southeast ID, but now it's underwritten by Plasco. Plasco bought the whole company, right? And at the time there, the big guy, the boss at Plasco, wanted me to come there and asked me if I would relocate to move closer there to be there. Right. So therefore, I did everything. So therefore, I'm still there.
And you've always prided yourself as a Muslim. You work for a Jewish family that owns this business, correct?
Correct.
You've always prided yourself on that, and it's always been a very, very admirable thing that ever since you were paroled, you've worked at Southeast ID and now Plasco ID.
Right.
Now, any last questions before we wrap it up?
No, I mean, it's just interesting, the whole arc of your story, you know, and it's impressive that you're involved in the transition program, corrections transition program, the way you are. I mean, it must have had a really big impact, obviously, in you know, sort of rehabilitating your life, I guess, right?
Exactly, because when you live in prison for so many years and whatnot, and you say, well, is it ever going to happen? Is it ever going to be? Or just that, and door open, and you meet good people and whatnot, and you just become a different person. You know what I mean? Like, I couldn't just quit because I'm too valuable right now, because I've been in the company so long that I have to bring somebody in to train them and this and that. But
well, it's got to be a good feeling. I mean, you have a feeling of worth now, you know?
Value, yeah.
Value. That's great.
But Grover, the last question that I would like to ask you is, with all of your experience, and you've seen so many people take the wrong path, if you could speak to parents and teachers and adolescents and teenagers and at-risk youth, what advice, based on your life, would you give them to stay out of trouble?
Well, first of all, respect your parents. Respect your parents. If they love you, which they do, they're going to give you good guidance, but not. And you have to be obedient, and you must what's called go through your school classes. You know, you must go through your education to get some kind of skill, right? Get something you love, and then that you enjoy, and that make you a nice living, right? And
yeah, well said.
Yeah.
Stay in school.
Stay in school.
Well, I don't know about now, but with COVID, but yeah, you want to stay in school. But,
well, you got it, brother. You're not kidding.
Well, that wraps up our first episode of Men Going Home. It's been an absolute pleasure with you guys. We hope that we can bring you a segment of society that very few people know about. And that's what drew me in 13 years ago. It's an aspect of society very few people know anything about. And we hope we brought you a little insight today. Thank you, Andy. It's always a pleasure. I look forward to next week.
Thanks, Chris.
Grover, thank you. Always a pleasure seeing you.
Good pleasure seeing you too. Right?
And thank you for
Thanks,
tuning
Grover. Nice meeting you, buddy.
And thank you for tuning in to Men Going Home. Thank you very much and good night.